MUZKAST Experience. Aaron and Dave, no Patrick today. He's lost his voice. That big tour he did, lost his voice. So he's out today. I tried to get him to come on and just hold up signs about what he wanted to say, but he said he'd take a pass.
Yeah.
So on with the show, we have all the way from Charleston, North Carolina. One of the Carolinas. South. All right. I'm not very good with geography, but it's Ziggy.
That's why we're doing a music show, Dave.
Yeah. It's Ziggy. All the way from Charleston, South Carolina. You know, we got a lot of good bands coming out of the South, man.
Oh, yes.
What's going on down there? Are they putting something in the water, Ziggy?
Something. You know, rock is not all that dead as some people think it is. And, you know, it's just, I think with us, with the folks that just played Get Revelation Rockfest this past weekend here in Charleston, it's more of what I think God has put in the water. It's been a very spiritual experience, an awakening, and you know, people are really getting stirred up in different areas of faith and in different areas of just where they're at in life, and what, you know, in regards to especially what's been going on the last couple of years, you know, with all the changes that have been going on, and you know, people wanting to get back to normal, but you know, it's been hard for some folks, and I think this has been just a prime opportunity for people to reevaluate where they're at in their life, and not just with regard where they work or where they live or how they live. It's also in regard to their spiritual walk.
Yeah.
Spiritual journey.
Hey, you know, Jesus used to turn water into wine, and I guess what you're saying is he's turning water into good music out there.
Amen.
Yeah.
I mean,
now at that festival, you had Tricord, Last Trumpet play. What's some other bands that played that?
We had Red Calling.
Okay.
Filthy Rags. They're from Fort Wayne, Indiana. Jenna Parr, of course. She used to be out of Georgia. She lives in Nashville now. We had the headlining band Warriors of Light.
Cool.
Nettie. She's also in the Nashville area now, I believe. Armor of God from Tampa, Florida, and also Xandria Cross. And
I've heard of Xandria.
Yeah. Next. And all these groups, let me tell you, every one of them had in my opinion, had an outstanding performance. And I think what helped to fuel that was not just their excellence in performing, excellence in their musicality, but there was a great spirit of unity at this festival. There was no competition. There was no, well, let's see which is the better band, or or whatever. Everybody's goal was to minister the gospel and make sure that that was the primary focus. This was the second year of Rockfest. Last year, we had one girl that was the daughter of a Hanahan city official. The venue we held the Rockfest at is the Hanahan Amphitheater, and she was baptized last year, got saved.
Wow.
And then this year, my friend Glenn Remsen, who also has a podcast called lithoscry.com, and he interviews a bunch of metal bands and metal artists, and just talks about some deep spiritual topics. Anyway, he told me that at the end of the night there were 3 salvations and a healing.
Wow, that's great.
So, to bring that up, I mean, this year was, in my opinion, and many others' opinion, far better than last year's. Not to knock last year's at all. It was a more unified spirit. I think the purpose of what God wanted to do was very much accomplished.
So the festival is growing and maturing, in other words.
Yes.
And I don't mean maturing like the music's becoming for old fogies. I mean, it's really finding its niche.
Yes. Yes. And last year it was mainly just rock bands, hard rock, to metal. This year we mixed in some pop and some, praise. We had a guy up there doing acoustic music in between sets. And so it was, we try to get a little bit more of a mixed bag, not just one particular genre. And, again, going back to the spiritual aspect of it, the night before we had a gathering, a meet and greet, and a time of prayer and worship. And that time of prayer and worship was very powerful. It was very moving. And, people were at the altar kneeling, just, getting before God and just really just allowing God to do whatever he wanted to do to prepare us for this event, because we were set that this was not just going to be another concert. This is not going to be, hey, listen to us, or, whatever. It's listen to the Lord. And everything spilled over into Saturday. It was just, it was really phenomenal.
Wow. I've told Aaron before that there's certain shows that I've been to thousands of concerts. There's certain shows that I go to that there's just an energy in the room. It's going to be a special night. Something's going to happen. And the last time I saw this happen, Aaron was with me. And I even told him before this happened, I went, there's an energy in this room. Something's going to happen tonight. And something spectacular and way out of the norm, the Seven Dust Show, Aaron, where this 13-year-old kid had just lost his mother a couple of weeks earlier. And he went to the meet and greet and he met the band and he told the lead singer about his mother and he asked him if he would sing this song for his mother that night. And instead of just singing the song for the kid's mother, he actually brought the kid up on stage and sang the song to the kid, not to the crowd, and not a dry eye. And I asked like lots of people for video, and everybody said, no, we were just in the moment. We weren't taking pictures or video, just in the moment. It sounds like that's one of those things, like you had that experience with the festival.
Yes.
Yeah. See, it's fantastic when that all comes together. It really is.
I mean, it was just, the devil tried to get in the details sometimes, especially when the preaching was going on in between sets, trying to mess with the sound, the microphone would cut off or whatever. But in fact, Glenn, when he was up there, he had gone through 3 microphones and he was like, I'm not shutting up. He's not shutting me up. I'm going to say what God wants me to say. And so.
It's too bad Patrick Rivers isn't on with us today. He's our third in this show, and he's in a band called 3 Days Under. They went on a little 2-week tour, and he said before the tour even started, he said the devil has been doing everything he can to make sure this doesn't happen tonight. And my response to him was, the devil's probably sitting down there going, things are really kind of going my way right now. There's a lot of chaos in the world and things are going my way. And I don't need you guys out there trying to muck it up for me.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Every time you get really close to God and doing things that God wants to do, and God's opening doors like he has been with all these, artists and this festival, and just the favor that was upon Glenn and the whole organizing crew. It's like the closer you get, the more he's going to obviously get his, hands in there and try to mess it up. Because, if you're just doing it for yourself, if you're just doing it for, music's sake, or, hey, we're a bunch of, believers, let's just get together and have some fun. He's not going to really mess around with that too much.
Well, yeah, but if you have a mission and a purpose, look out. He knows what's up. Let's do some music, because I want to talk in the next break I want to focus on your music because you got some great stuff, man. You really do.
Thank you.
And what are we gonna play here, Aaron?
Well, appropriate song. Who's shining now?
Who's shining now?
Yeah. So
Ziggy
you know,
lit up. This must be
yeah.
one of his favorites.
yeah. So who's shining now? You know, put it back in Satan's face a little bit. Who's shining now? After all this darkness, who's shining now? So we'll be right back on the Rock Salt Muzkast Experience.
Rock Salt Muzkast Experience, Aaron and Dave, Charleston, South Carolina, and Ziggy on the Zoom. Hey, that's our live studio audience, Ziggy. We packed him in the room just for you, brother. Dude, Aaron sent me a link to your Spotify, and he said Ziggy's going to be on the show. And I went, well, you know, I got to say, Ziggy, you look nothing like your cartoon.
Thank God.
Yeah, you're much better looking in person. What's that?
I've worked out since then.
Oh, okay. He's got the gym membership now.
Yeah.
This is no way.
Yeah. That's not the mullet under the hat joke.
No.
Not saying you got a mullet. I'm just saying that's the joke.
No. Right.
Anyways, by the way, I love mullets, so I got no problem with mullets. If I could pull off a mullet, I totally would.
Oh.
Your music is this rock blues, and I almost want to say blues rock because it's more bluesy.
Yeah, that's very accurate.
Yeah, and when I first heard you, I went, well, I'd put him in a show with Glenn Kaiser, you know, from Res Band, because he's got that whole bluesy thing going on. Man, it's good. And you know, of course, everybody knows blues is the base of rock, so you can't have rock without the blues, anyways. True. I know I'm rambling here.
But then you said he had a little Crowder in him too.
Yeah, I went, you know, I turned to Aaron and I went, you know what would be a great show? Ziggy and Crowder. Oh, I'd pay $50, $100 to see that show, man.
I love Crowder. I got to see him when he came through about a year and a half ago, I think it was.
Doesn't he put on a fantastic show?
It was awesome. He started with Run Devil Run, and that's a cranking opener. And
yeah,
little history there. My friend John Mark McMillan, you might recognize the name. If you don't, he's the guy that actually wrote the song "How He Loves," which Crowder does. Mm-hmm. And you know, my remembrance anyway, and this goes back about 20 years ago when John Mark was just, you know, coming out of his teens, getting into, you know, his 20s. We used to actually play for a season together at a church here called Daystar, and it was a prophetic type of church. They, you know, it was connected with Rick Joyner's Morning Star Ministry, which is where John Mark came out of. And anyway, it was around that time. It was during that time frame. We're talking about probably around 2000, 2001, when John Mark introduced that song here. And no, you know, in no way do we, you know, realize that that was one day going to be picked up by, you know, Crowder, and then is as, you know, popular as it is.
That's crazy
how
stuff comes together like that.
One thing that he was a little disappointed about was when
oh, we're having a little technical difficulty. We lost Ziggy for a minute. I know he's going to jump back on. There he is.
Yeah. Somebody tried to call me.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, was when they had changed the line in the song in Heaven Meets Earth like an unforeseen kiss, because the original lyric is in heaven's.
Oh, I knew.
Yeah, sorry.
I knew it was going to chop up
like
as
a
soon as he
sloppy
did
wet
that.
kiss, and they changed that line to unforeseen because they thought, oh, sloppy wet's a little too messy for, you know, Christians.
Yeah,
or, you know, for church people, yeah, whatever their thought was. He was like,
I get it.
When I sing it, I say sloppy wet kiss because that's really what the you know the emotion is. It's just when you know you're running after your Savior, and that's just the way, you know, that he is. It's just, you know, no holds barred.
Yeah, you know, I say all the time that I do not like to critique bands and that sort of thing, because that's your art. And who am I to critique someone else's art? I don't like when people critique my show. Sometimes I listen to what they have to say. Sometimes I go, you're just wrong. But, you know, what do you think, or how do you feel as a songwriter when you come up with this, you know, piece of art and somebody goes, yeah, we like it, but we're going to change this and this and this. Do you come out? I would come off like, no, I'm not going to do this.
Yeah, I don't know what point he found that out, or if he had already agreed to it and then they changed it. But it wasn't even, I don't think Crowder. I think it was just the record label.
Some producer or record label. Yeah. I get it. You got to get the corporations and the big brass involved, you know, and they've got their own ideas. Yeah. And sometimes they're right and sometimes they're wrong.
Yeah, we compared you to Crowder, Glenn Kaiser. Who are your musical influences?
Yeah, I imagine you have a massive Decca collection.
I do.
And see, I was right.
It goes back, you know, I grew up listening to a lot of 60s and 70s music in the 80s. And of course look back at the 80s music now, I'm like, yeah. And I hear a lot of the influence there just because I lived through it. But my three main ones in the mainstream realm were the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, and Queen.
That's a good trinity there. No no pun or, you know, offense intended, but that's a good trinity of classic rock bands.
And then Petra was my favorite rock band on the Christian side.
See, I grew up on Petra, man. Greg Voles. Oh, I so want to talk to Greg Voles. Aaron, make it so.
Okay.
I got things on my mind.
I had the fortune back in 2006. I was attending an Indie Heaven Music Summit up in Franklin, Tennessee, and got to meet Bob Hartman and Johnschlitt just after Petra had retired. I mean, we're talking like maybe 3 months.
Yeah.
And they were being asked, okay, so what's next for you guys? You know, just, you know.
Well, maybe if you didn't notice, it's called the Farewell Tour.
Yeah. And then they came up with two guys from Petra. They were going around the country, you know, up in Canada and US, just doing just the two of them doing acoustic worship.
Yeah. I got to ask you, because you brought up Johnschlitt, and me being a huge Petra fan. Now, Aaron is a Schlitt Petra fan. I'm a Voles Petra fan. Mm-hmm. I think that if I met Johnschlitt, I'd definitely ask him about Petra, but I'd ask him about his Head East days, his classic rock days, and how he got to Petra.
Well, I know the story a little bit because he spoke about it. He was just, you know, like a lot of the groups in the 70s, they were into drugs and all that. And he was trying, and, you know, he got into the point where I think it was about ready to destroy him, and he had gotten out of it, you know, I think by 1980 or so. And I think it was in 81, he said he got saved. So over the next few years, he was actually working some construction job in Utah.
Oh, wow.
From what I remember. And he would occasionally sing in church. I think he had maybe once or, you know, at least once or twice, you know, done some kind of a special music thing, but he was missing the music part of it. And he got offers to go into this band or that band. He would talk with his wife about it, and she's like, no, that's not for you. And he kept saying all along that, you know, because he became a fan of Petra too. And he was like, you know, that he would just love to be in a band like Petra, you know. And then one day, January 86, he gets a call from Bob Hartman.
Yeah. Well, you know, I know they met on a plane. I know Bob and John met on a plane. I remember that story. You know, I didn't bring you on to talk about Petra. We do want to talk about your music, but
the Soul Creed Project.
What?
It's called the Soul Creed Project. I was going to ask him, how'd you come up with that name, the Soul Creed Project?
Well, my band was Soul Creed.
Okay.
That was actually, I had a band from 2013 to 2020, and for most of that time, the band's name was actually Faith Haven. It was one word, and it was like Safe Haven, but with a faith-based message, of course. And it was changed to Soul Creed back in 2018. A couple of people in the industry that I talked to had discussed with me a possibility of a name change because they felt, at least one of them felt it sounded like a woman's name. And a lot of times people would naturally separate it, Faith Haven. And like, no, it's not that, it's one word. So we always had that issue going on. Rob Frazier, if you remember him from back in the day.
I remember that name.
Yeah.
Rob Frazier was a solo artist in CCM for about 20 years, from 1980 to 2000. He actually got his start in the late 70s in Petra for a couple of years.
Maybe that's where I know the name from then.
Yeah. And then, yeah, he was on the Wash Is Wider Than album.
Okay. Not my favorite Petra, by the way. Wash Is Wider Than, not my favorite Petra album.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, I digress. Go ahead.
So he's the one that said it, it sounds like a woman's name to him. So, he would suggest, maybe change the name. And then when we were working on songs like Hold On, Who's Shining Now, and song Take Me Farther, which are all on this album, I was working with the band. It was in 2018. We were working with producer Billy Smiley from Whiteheart.
Yeah.
And he was also talking about possibly name change. Of course, he left that up to us. And I came back with Soul Creed. We were trying to think of something that, sounded a bit more rock. And so, as far as that name goes, it was, deep in our soul as believers, we have the one, creed. And I was thinking of the Apostles' Creed. So from our perspective, it was the Soul Creed that we played around with maybe SOLE, like it's just the one creed,
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. But we also felt like the fact that it's the human soul is what gets transformed and changed in the process of salvation. So I thought, well, that looks, or that feels right, it fits right. So in the middle of 2018, it became, we changed the name to Soul Creed. And so we worked on these songs. We released the three as Soul Creed in 2019. And, of course, a lot of money went into it because it was produced in Nashville, even on a budget, So, but, nothing came of it. 2019 was a year where Soul Creed was, as I often told the guys, this is a make or break year, because we had gotten to this point where, it seemed like we were between 2016 to 2019, we were really getting some opportunities to advance, in music production, in the quality of the songs that we were putting out. And trying to jump from being just a local area band. We had spent a lot of time playing in South Carolina, North Carolina, and Georgia, in that area mainly. But it got to a point where it's like, okay, we need to get to the next level. Are we able to get to this level?
Right.
As a group. And part of that was, can we get beyond where we are as far as our abilities and our talent?
Right.
To reach that. And it didn't work out. So
the production qualities, sorry about that. The production qualities on these songs, Carpe Diem, In This Moment, the Hold On, those were some of my favorite songs. They're great. And you're on a label that's helping you out with whose label is this?
Broadhead Music Group.
Broadhead Music Group. And they've got Jenna Parr, you said, as well, right?
Yeah.
Who opened for Stryper, you were telling me.
Yeah, tonight she's opening for Stryper.
Oh, tonight. Break a leg, Jenna Parr. Wow. That's a coveted position, I think.
Yeah, she made the announcement last weekend, so it was all brand new to us and was exciting.
Yeah, it really is exciting. Congratulations for her.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when we were talking about Johnschlitt, I believe that God has his plan. He knows the end result, and sometimes he's got to let you simmer on the back burner while he's working on something else. So what I mean is, like, you know, Johnschlitt, he starts to go, he's this classic rock guy in Head East, which was a decent sized band back in the 70s. They had a hit. Their hit was Never Been Any Reason.
I've got that vinyl record. It's awesome.
Really? Wow. I used to play it all the time on the classic rock stations and talk about Petras. I mean, anyhow, but you know, he starts to lean into the drugs, as you were saying, and you know, and that's where I go, hey, he's letting you experience life, letting you simmer on the back burner. He's got his eye on you.
Mm-hmm.
He maybe doesn't like where you're going, but he knows you gotta have that experience to take you to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it
Yep.
sounds like it's kind of the same thing with you, with your label, and you, as you just said, trying to make that next level.
Yeah, and that next step. And I've had a few people that I had very much, you know, I have very much confidence in their spiritual ability to hear from the Lord and to be guided by the Lord, and you know, and then the fruit behind that. So, or the fruit rather that follows that. And I had people, you know, telling me that they felt that, you know, it was time to move on from that it was, you know, the band was unfortunately holding things back rather than helping, you know, things move forward. So without going into it, I think, you know, there was, you know, just either some they were, you know, uh, they weren't exactly sure. At least one guy wasn't exactly sure if he wanted to continue on because, you know, maybe he didn't feel like he was able to get to that next level on his, you know, because I think some people know their limitations, know their ceiling, like this is as good as it's going to get, and it kind of felt in general like, you know, with that band, this is as good as it's going to get on a talent level.
Yeah.
Spiritually, I think a couple of guys started, you know, trying to get a little bit more. Hey, let's get discovered. You know, that's what they were. Seemed to be more focused on the music than on the ministry, and I was always trying to, you know, let them know, listen, the ministry is not something that needs to be on the back burner.
Right. Right.
Now, when you play live,
And
do you have a backing band now, or what? I'm sorry.
I do on occasion have a backing band. That is still a work in progress. The reason I played with tracks this year at Rockfest is because the drummer was already committed to a out of town wedding and couldn't be there. So therefore the other guys, you know, we tried to find another drummer, but there was only a certain amount of time that I could
Get them up
try
to
to
speed.
land.
Yeah.
Or they were like, yeah, we'd rather not do it because, you know. So I played with tracks this year. I did get a lot of really great compliments about that. So it was weird for me because I am so used to playing with other musicians. This was my first real concert without anybody but myself and tracks. So it was like
A little unnerving.
a weird experience. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even more so, I chose to do a couple of songs because I'm so used to having an instrument in my hand. I did a couple of songs with just a mic, and I had we had a guy here. His name is Daryl. I'm trying to remember his last name, but he just started a new radio station here in town called Christian Warrior Radio Network.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, he offered his opinion. Yeah, he goes, I think maybe the guitar hinders you a little bit. I don't know. Other people didn't think it mattered, but he goes, I think when you're without that microphone, you're able to minister more. Your expressions, you know, the way you're trying to communicate the song to the audience. I think you do well with that. So I just went out on a limb, feeling that the Lord was like, "Hey, go ahead and do it," you know, because we were encouraged. All the artists at Rockfest were encouraged. Listen, even if you have a whole set plan, if God moves you to do something else, just do it.
Yeah.
Remember, this isn't about making, the most of your performance. This is about what God wants to do.
It's about reaching people. And as you were saying that, that's kind of like this show. For me, anytime, I mean, I've done radio since I was 17 years old. So for me, anytime I got on the air, I don't want to say it became somebody else, but I'm definitely not the exact same person that I am when I'm in front of a mic. I just open up my mind to whatever will come into it. And sometimes it works out great. Go listen to the Faith Head interview. Sometimes it crashes and burns.
Oh, I love Faith Head. I love those guys.
Oh yeah, they're awesome. And yes, Aaron, send Ziggy a link to the Faith Head interview, because
I will do that.
You'll love it. But you got, when you're on stage, is it the same for you, where you're still Ziggy, but God's flowing through you and you're just the vessel?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had people go, like, for example, the guy I'm working for right now, he's seen me last year and this year, and he goes, man, when you were up there, I can totally tell that this is where you belong. You are in your element. You have just the, the persona is like you're most comfortable up there. And you're more expressive, because naturally I'm more of an introvert. Although as the years have gone on, I've been able to have more of my extrovert self come out, because as an artist, you got to be able to communicate with people,
Right.
engage, you got to engage. And so, as the years have gone on, I've been able to engage better and learn what works and how to, and how to connect with people better. So yeah, you do have a difference when you're doing what God has called you to do, and God is moving through you. There's an element of God in it, and I think when He's there and He takes over, and He's in the middle of that, there's a different kind of confidence, and there's a different kind of way that people tend to carry themselves.
Right.
When God is moving through them, it's because they know it's God, and they're just able to flow with it, rather than try to think, oh, how am I going to make this happen? Because you can't make it happen on your own. It's got to be God.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's upcoming? You just played last weekend. When's your next show?
What's coming up? Well, I'm waiting on Broadhead for that. I'm supposed to get with those guys next week sometime, and we're going to to discuss that, because I think they wanted to see an actual live performance of mine first. Without a group, it's really hard to kind of get things going, because people want to they want to see everything live. And so this is a bit of a new territory for me, if I'm going to be doing some more gigs with just tracks. I like to bring musicians with me. Of course, that also adds to cost too.
Yeah, you need to go the Crowder route and get you about 15, 20 people on stage, and maybe some dead animals.
Oh man.
Oh no.
So are you talking about a tour? Like a month-long gig?
There has been some talk about that. I signed on with them in November, and how I met Randall Broadhead is through a Let Those Cry podcast. My friend Glenn had him on. It was back in October of last year. And just the way that he focuses on the fact that this is all about ministry. I want to help artists, walk in their calling, and, provide what they need, in essence. And as he was speaking, I'm like, this is exactly the heart that I have for ministry, and using my music because this is what I've always been about. And Randall was like, dude, give me a call. Let's talk, So we did. And so I've been with them since November, and they've been helping me, with, things like, developing a website to making sure everything from the, product to the music to the presentation is all professional as possible, because it's, that helps to open doors. You don't want to be some amateur guy that's just gonna, might as well stay doing, what I'm doing here. And I've never been wanting just to stay here. I've been wanting to, keep going forward, keep going upward and forward.
Yeah, you can't look in the rear view mirror, man. That's
we
my,
know a lot
that's
about
my
amateurism.
philosophy in life.
We know a lot about amateur on this show. Oh man, if you listen to our early shows,
well, some we just deleted because it was like,
yeah.
Well,
so, go ahead.
I was gonna say, you've got to have continual growth. You can't be stagnant.
Yeah, if you listen to this show week after week, you'll hear that growth, because I do. But if you were to just base this show off of our first, I don't know, 6 or 10, you'd be like, forget that, man. Okay, so those guys are horrible.
So what website? Ziggie.com?
It's ZiggieMusicOfficial.com.
Okay.
And by the way, Ziggie spelled
Ziggie.
Yeah.
I guess the shirt's backwards.
Yes.
And then you Instagram, Facebook.
Instagram. Yeah. On Facebook, the page is just called Ziggie. And everything else is pretty much Ziggie Music Official. My YouTube page, this is of course before Broadhead. I called it Ziggie Songs.
Okay.
And so you see, I've got 3 videos up right now for Who's Shining Now, Take Me Farther, and Hold On.
Well, speaking of Hold On,
that, by the way, Hold On, probably my favorite song that I've heard from you. And the solo is what hooked me on that thing. That solo is so well produced. Dare I say, boy, this is a high bar. Dare I say, as good as the Freebird solo at the end of the Freebird.
Whoa.
That's what it made me think of. That's what it made me think of, because because it's towards the end of the song, correct?
Right.
And it's just, you take it into, it's like you kick open a door and go, hey, check out this room. It's not the song that I was just listening to, even though it's part of that song. So great.
Right. Yeah, that's Jonathan Crone. Jonathan Crone, one of Billy's friends, played the solo down on that.
It really is a good solo. Really I love it.
Hey, thank you for. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Jonathan Crone plays with Johnschlitt and Billy Smiley in a group called the Union of Sinners and Saints. I
have heard of that group. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a combination. It's got some former Whiteheart members that join in.
Yeah.
On the recordings, and maybe sometimes live, but they do a lot of acoustic stuff too, just the 3 of them.
That's cool. All right. Yeah. I didn't know that. Well, please go ahead.
I'm sorry, Jason Fowler too. He's got another connection. He's actually one of the main 3. Jonathan helps out a lot with the production, and he's also part of the live band, but it's actually Billy Smiley, Johnschlitt, and Jason Fowler. Those are the 3 main guys. Jason is also part of Randall Broadhead's band, We Are Vessel, when, they play out sometimes. So
nice. Well, if you want to check out some great blues rock music, I mean, probably, in my opinion, some of the best blues rock music coming out today. And I'm not just saying that because you're on my Zoom call. I'm serious. I'm genuine. Some of the best blues rock music coming out today, coming from Ziggie out there in South Carolina.
Thank you. Yes, that project, the whole album was a year in the making. We already had, like I said, the 3 songs from Nashville, and then I took about a year. And my ex guitar player in Soul Creed, His name is Mike Kelly. He's the other guy that's been mainly doing all the production part of it. We were just, laying, just being careful what we learned in Nashville, what we learned over the years, and how to make these songs sound better. All this, the studio tricks and whatnot, and just taking the time to make things right.
Yeah. Well, it shows. It shows you made them right. Ziggy, thank you for coming on the show. Let's have you back again, because clearly there is a whole bunch we can talk about. So, yeah, please come back again. Aaron?
Well, we're going to be playing Hold On right now. So
oh, awesome.
it's Ziggy,
Looking forward
Hold
to that.
On the Rock Salt Muzkast Experience.